at that point, I knew God was with this man, but I wasn't sure because I said, God, how can you support a man like Trump? Trump, for God's sake. So I was being skeptic to even say it's God. I only told a few people, co-workers, my family, but I told them, that, one thing I'm sure is that Trump has a spiritual force behind him. I will find out if that force is God or Satan.
Welcome back, Warriors. It's me, Linda B. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. Today, I have a special treat. I have Pastor Cliff McAnthony. He is the pastor of Holiness Revival Movement worldwide in Massachusetts, and he is the author of Trump the Great. He's going to talk to us about what God has shown him about American politics. And this is sure to be a treat. But before we get into the interview, I want you all to remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Watch the video to the end. Now let's get into it. Good morning. Welcome, Pastor McAnthony. How are you today?
I'm doing okay, Linda. God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you so much for being on my show. And I did a little short introduction of you, saying that you are the pastor of Holiness Revival Movement worldwide in Massachusetts. And I just want you to tell, and I call those who subscribe to my channel warriors, as in prayer warriors. So I wanted you to just tell my audience more about you.
Yes, like you rightly said, I am a pastor and a pastor with Holiness Revival Movement worldwide, which is a ministry that God has raised up in this end time for the revival of holiness, righteousness, and truth in the body of Christ. And the essence is to prepare people for heaven. Paul says, if in this life we have hope, then we are of all men most miserable. So this is what God is doing with the movement, teaching us all truth. So that's where I belong. So our emphasis is on practical Christianity. I've also been a minister of the gospel for about 19 years now. And I'm also an author and a hardworking businessman. So that is basically who I am.
Very good. Excellent. So of course, I read your book and I encourage everyone. And before we leave today, I want you to tell my listeners how they can purchase your book or get a copy of it. So my question is, you mentioned you were living a godless life before, which is everybody, right? Nobody comes in this world automatically loving God and doing right. I know I didn't either. I was selfish and did whatever, I wanted to do. Tell us about the moment that you became born again briefly.
All right. It actually, first time experience of being born again was in 1991. But after that, my parent, I was still a youngster then, and my parents was retiring to a different state. And, the devil came to me. I'm like, you gave your life to that man, Jesus. Now you have all the freedom to enjoy your life and do whatever you want. And nobody can hinder you any longer. So I thought about it and I fell for it. I went back to Jesus and can I have my life back? I need to rock it for a moment. And, Jesus being the gentleman, he said, you can have your life. And I off I went. So coming back was very tough. I keep drawing back, like you said, it's called backsliding. Keep going backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards. It became tough. I was bordering atheism by the time I really encountered God.
Wow.
So that was in 2004. Then I was a businessman doing very well. I have multiple store locations and traveling, outside of the country to import goods. And all of a sudden, God used that moment to bring me to his knees because he allowed everything to disappear. I lost everything. So, and I was in my room at this point, and this moment of the prodigal son came upon me. I was reflecting on my life and where I've come from, my Christian background, and how I, strayed from God. And I was about to be homeless. I was about to be thrown on the street because my landlord was going after me through the courts. And everything was overwhelming to me that night or that evening, maybe around 4 or so. And I said, who can I call for help? No one. The only person is God. I said, you can't call God for help. I've treated him so badly. He's not in my life. So, and I broke down in tears and I started crying. I started weeping. I wept uncontrollably that night. And I wept until I literally could feel the hand of Jesus tapping me on my back and saying, my son, it's enough. I've forgiven you. I've forgiven you. And then I woke up. I got up, destroyed all my pornographies, destroyed all my weed, destroyed all my drinks, destroyed all my worldly musics, broke all my worldly movies, took a Bible and looked for church. And I've never turned back on serving God since then.
I'm almost crying.
And that's I was reading my book just recently on my flight last week, and I started weeping I come fresh. I started weeping. I'm just trying to control myself.
I'm trying not to cry. I'm trying not to mess up my makeup. Oh, okay. I get teary. And I know what you mean because I had that backsliding moments. I was a youngster, I was in college when I first tried to get with the Lord, but I don't think the word really had root in me because I was in college and, I just went along, to get along. And I had a boyfriend that didn't understand. And I don't want to go off on a tangent on my story, but a few years later, I gave my life to the Lord and backslid a little bit again. But then God has a way of getting us back. Like God had to bring you to that moment of brokenness when you did not know what to do because you thought you were about to be homeless and put your back against the wall. And in that moment of desperation, you had no one else. There was no one you could call. And that's where God puts us. So we have to call on him. And it was for your good. It was it was for what's best.
Absolutely.
And it's so I wanted to ask you also, how did you make your way to America? And also, how did you get involved in American politics?
Yeah.
And you're from, I'm sorry, I just want to ask you, where are you originally from?
Nigeria. So my journey to America was, when I, found myself in this position where I lost it all. And then my dad was late, died 2 weeks before I finished my high school. So there's my dad's friend, family friend, and died. So he heard, what I'm going through. And he knew I was a responsible young man and all I did, helping my siblings, while I was in business. So he sent for me and said, I should tell him what it cost to put me back in business. He was willing to help. So, but at that time, when I turned to the Lord, my desire is to only do what God wants me to do. So I went to God in prayers. I said, look at what this man is saying. What do you want me to do? And then God gave me Isaiah 18, that he's doing 43, rather 18, that he's doing a new thing, that I should told me to sit at home, that I shouldn't take it, that he's doing a new thing in my life. So I turned down the offer. I literally stayed at home for almost like 2 years doing nothing. But I won't go into that because of time. It was a lot of miracle. God provided for me for 2 years, paid my rent without me asking anybody to pay my rent. He would send people literally to pay my rent, send people to feed me. It was like Elijah in the book. And that was exactly my experience. But let me leave that for another day. But as that was happening, so after about some time, then I got this burden to leave Nigeria. Like I said, to start from Nigeria from the scratch is a problem. And I needed to leave. So I took it to God in prayers and God, what you say? I desire to leave. Then he gave me a dream, gave me 5 countries, America, Canada, France, UK, and the Bahamas. He said, wherever I choose, he's going to grant me the visa. Then I wanted to be sure that it is God. And I know my mother hears from God. It's a different story entirely. So I called her up, but I didn't tell her what God said to me. I just told her, listen, I desire to travel. I wanted to pray. Ask God if it's his desire. And God told her the exact same thing he told me without her knowing what God told me. Wow. And that was my confirmation. So, and I started the journey of traveling and I made moves. Nothing was happening. Then God came to me in a dream in 2005 and told me I shouldn't worry, it's going to be 10/11. And, in Nigeria, we write the day before the month. So I thought it was going to be 10 of November. So this was happening around May or so, or April, or February, when this, I can't remember the month exactly, but early in the year. So I was hopeful that something was going to happen in November. But nothing came, nothing happened. So I moved on with my life and forgot about the dream. Maybe I didn't understand what it meant. So, but down the road, American Embassy wrote me for a visa application I put there. And little by little, cut the long story short, I was able to get my immigrant visa. But before then, I used to invest in a company, in an organization, like in the stock market when I was doing business. So I told my neighbor where I live then to invest in the stock market. So he gave me some money to invest for him. So I went to see the manager that I usually invest with. And then when I got there, he knew my story, know that I'm not doing anything. So he offered me a job. I said to him, no, I don't want a job. He begged me, literally was begging me for a job in Nigeria. Everybody's looking for a job. I said, no, I don't want a job. That I can't work for you. And you know, I don't like working. So he said that he wants I offered me, you can have my younger brother. He said, no, it's me he wants. But anyway, I left. And on my way to where I was going, I got down from the bus and God spoke to me. He said, go back and take that job. It's for you and it's for a purpose. So I turned back and got the job and worked there for about a year and became a manager in about a year. I was doing very well. Then when this visa came out in May 2020, in May 29, 2027, I thought to myself, I said, oh, God, you just did this to sustain me, the work to sustain me, so I'm moving to America. So I went to meet the CEO because I know him, told him of my intention to resign. He said, no, don't resign. We'll keep you while you're working, while you're in America, rather. You work for us from there. Okay. So I now postponed my traveling indefinitely. So, but I was supposed to travel June 30th, 2027. So I postponed my travel indefinitely so I can put my office together. And when I completed that, I was slated to travel on a Wednesday to arrive in America on the Thursday. So I was walking down to church at night. We had a vigil in church. And while I was on the street, God called me out. And he called me by my native name that nobody knows me by. And he said, do I remember 10/11? I've totally forgotten 10/11 in my life. This is about 2 years. And chills, I froze on the road. I'm like, 10, because then 10/11 made sense to me now. I bought my ticket to leave Nigeria on the 10th to arrive America on the 11th. I was surprised by it. But the greatest surprise of all was when I got to America. When I landed in America, the date in America is 10/11. America arrived the month before the day. So I arrived October 11. And my arrival date in America is 10/11. And that was exactly what God said to me 2 years ago. So he has been in my plans to come to America. He has ordered myself to it. And hey, I'm here and doing the work of the Lord as he has called me.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so you mentioned in your book that you are apolitical, but you know, you said that God was telling you some things about Donald Trump, so tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, that's a good thing to pick out from my book, that I'm apolitical. Yeah, I'm telling you, it was the Lord who really brought me into politics, to have any iota of interest in politics. I have never shown interest in politics. I don't like it. I don't participate. I don't vote, nothing. So, but in 2015, like my little experience with Donald Trump, I don't like the guy. And that was from The Apprentice. I don't watch it, but I have my coworkers. Then I was working with the states, and I have my coworkers who love to watch this stuff, and it was very irritating to me to see a man just saying, "You're fired, you're fired." I'm like, what's interesting about this stuff? And I felt the man was arrogant, and I hate arrogant people. So I began to dislike the man. Then in 2016, he started running for president, for the presidency. And then all we watched was CNN. MSNBC, not really me, but that's what everybody's putting on.
I know. And I don't watch my channel. You know how I feel about those two networks.
I know they are terrible, no good networks.
No good.
So that's all we have. And then these people help to take that dislike to hatred. So because the way they twist the man's word and everything, so like I began to hate this man to the point that the man causes me to sin. Whenever I see him on the TV, I call him names like fool. And he just never will I call a man a fool for nothing.
And I just want to pause for just a moment, because I just want to make sure that my listeners are getting this, because I felt the same way. I was watching CNN. And my parents watch MSNBC. That might be a little bit worse than CNN, but CNN is terrible. And they were feeding racial division. They were twisting his words, like you said. They twist his words and make him seem like literally the Antichrist, to the point where it causes you possibly to sin, because you're almost like you're hating this person, and we're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted everybody to know it's very important, warriors, what we take in with our eyes and our ears. And I say that all the time because I feel like the media is indoctrinating people. It's like brainwashing.
I call it bewitchment.
Yes, bewitchment, because you'll start thinking and believing stuff like anti-God. I mean, and I've heard people call themselves Christian who believe in some of who are going along with some of the alphabet community stuff. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I'm like, you can love the people, but we can't go along with it. They're listening to and taking in the wrong things. I'm sorry. I just wanted to, because I tell my listeners that all the time, and you can continue.
Thank you. That's very important to note. So, because, like you said, the eyes and the ear, these are gateways to your heart, to form, shape who you are. So anyway, it was happening at that level. So I announced, oops, this is getting out of hands. So I was, distancing myself, because I don't want to sin against God. I was distancing myself from watching and like commenting. And then at that point, when there was still about 11, they started with 17 candidates that time running for the
Yes,
Republican.
I remember.
Yeah. When there was still about 11 left, that's when God came to me in a dream. And in this dream, he told me that Trump wanted to see me. And hey, I went to see Trump. God often speaks to me through dreams, especially sometimes prophecies and audible voices, but mostly dreams. So I went to see Trump. He was sitting on a round table and he offered me a seat. He sat beside me. I said, Cliff, I really want you to campaign for me. I told him, I said, Trump, I can't campaign for you. He said he was going to offer me something. So he brought us something like a steak and, gave me a steak. And in my mind was saying that's $1 million. I said, no, I wouldn't campaign for you. He said, I know Trump, the way he talks, said, I said, I'm rewarding you handsomely and you wouldn't even campaign for me. And I told him, how do I know you're rewarding me handsomely when I don't know what other people, as a businessman, you're talking like business, and when I don't know what other candidates had to offer me for the same position. He said, okay, I'll make it 2. Then he gave me two sticks, which means $2 million. I told him, Trump, even if you give me your whole estate, I will not campaign for you. And I said, and I thought about that. Well, like, that was hard. He was shocked himself too. And I was like, that was hard. And I'm like, why don't you go pray about this? Then I told him, okay, you know what? Let me go and pray about this and know what God has to say. And then he shrugged his shoulder. Was like, okay. And I left. In the dream, I was going back. I was in a train coming back from Boston to my place. And I said, let me even ask people and find out what they think about this man. Maybe probably I am the only one who thinks he's crazy. So, and I asked the person, one of the people, I saw 2 people standing in front of me and they're black. And I asked them, what do you think about Trump? And the first guy was just like me. Oh, Trump is crazy. Is this, is that? Yeah. I was like, yeah, that's what I think. That's right. And when he finished, the second person in a calm voice told me that America will later say that Trump is either the best president or one of the best presidents that ever ruled America, especially Christians. And this, through me, I've never heard anybody, whether in the dream or physical, speak good about Trump. What? And I turned to ask the persons, there was another woman sitting beside me, to ask her so that to break the ties. And as I turned to ask her and I woke up, that wasn't enough. So at that point, I knew God was with this man. But I wasn't sure because I said, God, how can you support a man like Trump? Trump, for God's sake. So I was being skeptic to even say it's God. I only told a few people, co-workers, my family, but I told them, that, one thing I'm sure is that Trump has a spiritual force behind him. I will find out if that force is God or Satan. When after the election in 2016, if he wins, I know it's God because I know God controls the affairs of this life. If he loses, then I know it's Satan. But one thing he has is strong spiritual backing, and he's going to come out as the Republican nominee.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened. But the greatest moment was the Thursday before the week of the election.
Mm-hmm.
I was driving. I was at a traffic light. As the light stopped, I heard a voice speaking to me, say, Cliff, I showed you such a great revelation about this nation and you did nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
What else will I show you for you to know that Trump is the president of the United States? And I was responding, I said, probably if you show me a dream with Trump holding the flag of the United States and the right 45 on it, then I will know he's the 45th president. And as I was saying that, the voice was leaving. When the voice was leaving, I felt a presence departing from me. That's when I knew it was God. At first, I thought I was communicating with myself. Then when I knew it was God, and in that awe, I had a client at my back who now asked me, say, Cliff, who won the elections last night? Just simultaneously, I was in that shock, just before the light could turn from red to green. And I was shocked. And I wanted to answer because I'm apolitical and don't participate in politics. I wanted to be sure he's not talking about a different election, but probably there was a Senate race or something last night I'm not aware of.
Mm-hmm.
So when I asked him, what elections are you talking about? He said, Hillary and Trump. I said, wow. He said, Trump. He said, no, Trump can't win. Trump can't win. Like I said, but I was just receiving the answer now before you asked. My coworker said, if he wins, he's going to move to Canada. I told him, go and pack your things once you get home. Move to Canada. Don't wait till Tuesday. You know, if you bring some of my phone, you see my conversation with people. I wasn't saying that Trump was going to win. I told them that Trump has won. But to make this story more challenging, this Saturday before the Tuesday now, I saw CNN again. I saw the polls tip so terribly that all was left in 2016 was to make Hillary Clinton the president of the United States without an election. And nobody will have any strong argument because Trump didn't stand a chance.
And I just want to say, I remember people saying, the newscasters were saying, oh, there's no way Donald Trump is going to win. He's not going to win. I remember when Barack Obama was saying something about Donald Trump, he said that, I think Donald Trump said that Obama was the worst president that America has ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And Obama said, but at least I'll go down as a president. And he dropped the mic. Boom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And everybody was so shocked when he actually won. And I'm sorry, I just wanted to interject.
Okay. And they were all crying on live TV. They couldn't hold the emotions. It was an embarrassment for the war for all of them, you know, because God chose to embarrass them. So anyway, I came in that Saturday. I have never prayed like that. I don't know what came over me. I've never prayed like that in my life. And I had only one line of prayers. I said, God, because then I could see, then I was convinced, I was sure it was God. But however, how can this be? Like Mary asked the angel. I don't see the possibility. I knew it's going to take a great miracle for this to happen in America. So I came that Saturday. I prayed like I've never prayed. I said, God, if you make this happen in America, I will go to any length to open the eyes of your people, for your people are blind. That was my prayers. And of course, I know mine was blind. Mine just got opened by God to know that this is the man that I hate so much, the man that I dislike, you know. So then when I started praying for the man, the rest is history. On Tuesday, he won the election to the surprise of the whole world. But however, in August 15, 2020, God showed me something else. And also from that 2016, I knew Trump had a second term. It's there in my book. I posted it on Facebook in 2016. And yes, that Trump's presidency is going to be like that of King Cyrus and King Darius. Let those who have spiritual understanding on that. Here, another revelation. And if you don't know what it means, I'm going to tell you what it means when the time comes. So I knew for sure that Trump has a second term. So come 2020, God came to me and showed me a dream that Trump wasn't going to win, just cutting the dream short, you know, that Trump wasn't going to win the 2020 election, that it was going to be another election. And that exactly happened as God showed me. Though at first I didn't understand it that way. I'm like, how can he not win? So, but that exactly happened as God told me. And I showed people that Trump is going to run in 2020, even before he declared he was going to run. In 2024, rather, even before he declared he was going to run. Mm-hmm. So now that has come to pass. Trump is already running. And that was how I got into politics. And the essence of what God is showing me all this is not really because of politics per se, but he wants me to understand, and the Christians to understand, that he's highly interested and he's one who makes kings. He's one who raises up rulers. He's one who dethroned rulers, and that he has his hands in all that goes on in the world. And he uses these tools to bring about his purpose in the nation. So since then, I've been drawn into politics, being interested and participating. I didn't even vote in 2016. I voted in 2020. That was how remote I am from politics. Even with all that revelation, I still didn't vote. So, but I voted in 2020. And since then, I've been paying attention to what is going, trying to open the eyes of people, of God's people. That was exactly why I wrote this book, because I feel that Christians are blind. I feel that Satan, through this media, has blinded or bewitched the people, like Simon the sorcerer.
Yes.
As the Bible says, that he has bewitched the entire community, the entire Samaria. That's exactly what I call them the witch houses. And the media boxes, they are crystal balls. They use this thing to bewitch the entire nation. People are bewitched. When you hear people talk, especially people on the left or so-called Christians on the left, you see that these people are like programmed.
They're bewitched. I agree.
Yes.
The media in America and probably other places, but I know because I live in America, that it is a bewitching tool, and they're using it to control us, to go along with things that God would not have us to go along with. God is not for the things that the media is promoting. And my question to any Christian is, if the media is going to tell you, and which it has in America, the media has said Jesus Christ is not the only way. They try to diminish Jesus down to that of a regular man that sins and has faults. Jesus is perfect. He never sins. He's always been perfect. He is divine. He is the only way to salvation. So I know Christians who believe that Jesus is the only way, but they also believe what the media is telling them. And my question is, if you know that they got the thing that they have Jesus wrong, then why should you believe them about anything else? If they've already lost credibility saying Jesus is only a man and he's not the only way, then that lets you know, don't listen to anything else that they say, but they still do.
Yeah.
They still do. And it's used, it's like it's almost a form of communism, because it's like you're controlling the minds of the people to do what you want. And it is anti-God.